Do you ever see the or hear the old Cheech and Chong bit from one of their old albums? It was "What I Did on My Summer Vacation." Did you ever see that?
I don't know what you're talking about. Who's Cheech and Chong?
You know what Cheech and Chong is?
Yeah, I know who Cheech and
Chong is. I know you don't necessarily live that lifestyle.
Well, and I'm clearly much younger and more beautiful than you. So.
Brian Pfeiffer, it's great to see you. How are you?
Good, man. Good. Are you sure you want to do this?
What?
You know, get into a room every day and talk.
Oh, we didn't even get that far yet. We're going to talk about why you're here, first of all, in a little bit.
Oh.
But why we're both here, first of all.
Why are we here?
Why are we here? I have to talk about real quick. Hopefully it's real quick. I don't think this video is going to be that long. I want to talk about what I did on my summer vacation. I don't know how many people really realize that I took the whole summer off, pretty much, from podcasting. I just said, you know what? I need to take a break. Got to take a break, you know.
Sometimes it's good for you.
So we're going to talk about real quick the challenges that I've had and the steps I'm taking to kind of learn from the challenges. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
So I'm sure people hopefully have noticed that I haven't been on, haven't been doing the podcast. I've been trying to keep up on the Rock Radar reactions a little bit here and there. But yeah, I'll just sum this up as quickly as I can. When I left the radio station to start this venture, I said, I'm going to take 5 years, try to build a podcast as best as I can before embarking on this year-long journey to Ireland. Whatever happens after that is kind of up in the air. I don't really know what's going to happen. But the goal was to build the podcast as much as I could. You know, there's going to be dick punches. That's what I like to say along the way. And but you're like, okay, I can navigate these. So, you know, the first place that I was in after I started the podcast started out pretty good. Have a few learning curves here and there. Things, oh, that wasn't that good. You're kind of learning how to go live and how to do these things. Trying to transfer what you did on the radio to, you know, the internet format. And it was going okay. Then you get just challenges, obstacles. The house that I was in got sold. My savings was not great at the time, so my living situation went to shit for a while. Then I got an apartment. Then I had to move again. I got this apartment. And that killed any sort of like consistency, because when I had to move, you got to make changes. I'm staying in with my parents for a little bit. You can't really do the podcast. You're committing to do the podcast, but how are you doing it? So just constantly battling consistency, you know, and that battling consistency affects mental health, which again affects consistency.
Yeah.
You know, so I got to the point, I think, moved into this apartment, and I think I talked to you about this, you know. I said, okay, I am going to hammer this shit out. I'm in this place. I have this rad studio, and I want to say from January until June, when I dropped the last podcast, I dropped more podcasts in that amount of time than I bet you, I don't know, probably in close to a year. I had equaled the output that I have in like a year. And to say that there wasn't any sort of like audience reaction, no increase, it actually decreased how many downloads and views and things the podcast was getting. There are a lot of challenges that I have had to figure out and didn't know what I was doing wrong when we started this. Talk about, I didn't know shit about, you know, like photoshopping or brand. I know enough about branding working in the radio, but it's a different ball game in the internet.
You didn't know video editing, and you taught yourself from scratch. Dude.
I don't know. I don't know how algorithms work. I don't know how search engines work, optimization, all this kind of things. So I know that especially for that first year, my content was kind of fucking bunk, but I was learning to grow with it. And I was like, okay, I can still grow with this thing. You move out of the one place into the one place, and again, you got to change the way you do things. But it has been such a battle, those inconsistencies have led to drop off in viewership on YouTube and then downloads for the podcast. You know what I mean? Because you don't get your stuff out there as much. People aren't going to see it. So I got to the point in June, I just looked at the numbers and I'm like, I got a fucking year and a half before I go to Ireland. And it's not doing shit. On YouTube, I'm almost at 4,000 subscribers, but it's kind of wallowing in like this no algorithm sort of place where every once in a while I get a video that gets a few, but on YouTube, when I do the Rock Radars, I tend to do a lot of bands that nobody knows about, and go deep on bands. My whole goal on that is I want to experience new rock and roll, and I think if you're genuine enough about it, other people will come along for the ride, right?
Sure. Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily make it true. That doesn't mean that just because you're putting it out there, people don't necessarily want to see it, So you tell yourself, okay, I didn't do this well enough, or if I try this, it'll hit. We talk a lot about posting content.
Yeah.
On social medias and not getting any response. And hopefully this does not sound accusatory to anybody watching, but it's a reality when you're posting content and you say, look, I need your help on this. Likes help, comments help, shares help. Engagement is what they call it. And it increases your algorithm.
And you can see people are watching. You can see the views. So people are watching. But if they don't take the time to do a reaction to it or a share or a comment, it doesn't necessarily help that video to gain any traction or that audio to gain any traction to another potential piece of the audience. So even if people are watching it, if there's no interaction, it does not help you.
Right. So I got to the point, every time you post something you're stoked about and say, hey, click this link for this new channel or whatever, and it doesn't seem like you get any reaction. I mean, there's really only so many conclusions you can come from it. Either A, they didn't realize it, B, they just didn't notice it or just scrolled past it or whatever, or your shit sucks. Those are the things you come up with. Now, I, again, I'm pretty cognizant of what I was doing. I don't want to say poorly, but what I could have been doing better, especially at the beginning of doing the podcast, right? So you get to the point when you're putting all this content out and you're not getting any engagement, and you're just like, I had all these podcasts that I was super stoked. I'm in a new place, and there's nothing. And again, at some point, you're like, okay, what am I doing wrong? There's got to be something, because I'm confident enough in my ability to engage people and be funny or compelling or whatever it is about whatever. I know what my weaknesses are a lot of times. I know I tend to be unfocused. I tend to be kind of flighty and out there. I get it. So I was just like, what am I going to do? This isn't working. It's either quit, and quit pissed me off. The word quit was coming into my head. We talk, we'll talk Ted Lasso in another moment, but when the belief in yourself starts to slip away, you're like, maybe I can't do this. Maybe I suck. Maybe this is shitty. You really have to evaluate kind of where you're at. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take the summer off. I started doing a project I was really excited about, the Something in Your Mouth thing, for various reasons. I stopped doing that. The budget's a big one on that one. I thought I could make it work more than I could, and the people that took part in that are awesome for doing that. And but that didn't work. Okay,
I didn't trust Smitty to do it.
Oh, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't trust me.
I was afraid I was going to eat some weird fish.
I wouldn't trust me. So I'm like, okay, I'm getting rid of that. And around the same time, my knee went to shit. I work, a part-time job to make ends meet. Or what am I saying? A full-time job. I don't work part-time. I work full-time job plus this job. My knee went to shit. We talked about it earlier. I talked about it on a podcast, It's better now. It feels great. But at the time, I was like, I might have to, I don't know what's going to happen with this knee, if I'm going to have to get surgery or whatever. And then I haven't told anybody about this because I haven't done a podcast. My car is on its last leg. I owe $16,000 on it still, and it needs a $6,000 to $7,000 fucking car repair. So that's just been weighing on me all summer. I'm still limping it along and trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I'm looking at a few part-time jobs around this area that I don't have to drive to in case it happens. And all this while, I'm just fucking sitting here wondering, how am I going to get this content going? Because once you start feeling doubt about that, then you start feeling doubt about the Irish project that I'm super passionate about, right?
Hardcore.
So I really just came with a decision in a couple ways that I'm going to continue with this shit, man. Because once the word quit comes into my vocabulary, I get super pissed off. I am of the mindset that when it gets hard, go harder. You know, rather than folding up shop. And it's a blessing in a way that I'm doing this publicly. There's a lot of people, we see it, man. There's a lot of people that start podcasts and they fall by the wayside. They could be really good, but nobody gives them the fucking time of day. Their friends don't give it the time of day. Their families don't get the time of day, and nobody sees it. You know what I mean? And eventually they fucking quit. I am happy that I have made this journey public, and it's totally keeping me honest.
Yeah.
So rather than quit, I'll just figure out a few ways for hopefully this shit to get better, you know? And way number one, let's get rid of that fucking thing. You talked about it today when you came in here. You're like, are you sure you want to turn the camera off? And I'm like, yeah. Yeah, I am. You know, I will 100%. We've talked about Blind Boy Boat Club, and I've been listening to his podcast, and it's been so inspiring to me. I can't even begin. If I'm not going to get into it, but if you're into podcasts, check out the Blind Boy Boat Club. It is seriously has been so inspiring to me. He wears a shopping bag over his head. He's got autism, and he deals with. That's how he remains anonymous. So he's one of those people. And the more I read about it and the more I hear about it, I'm probably somewhere on that autism neurodivergent spectrum that they call it nowadays, you know, where I'm super uncomfortable with small talk. Going out in the public totally gives me anxiety. And I know you feel the same way.
I do.
I'm still doing camera videos with the Rock Radar reactions that I'm working to like clean up and make better. To try to get my stuff back into the algorithm. I'm trying to get everything back in. You know what I mean? Trying to build it up again. So I'm going to do Rock Radar videos with the camera. I'm going to do I have the new channel, Not Something in Your Mouth, the Smitty Learns Irish Pubcast actual YouTube channel, because that's where the podcast is going to go. Doing video stuff on that too, because it's different if you're reacting to something, which I'm basically doing on the Irish channel too, reacting to Irish history things. I can talk and sit there and talk about things that are happening in real time really fucking easily. Trying to get into your own brain for a podcast, which is what I want to do, is way easier when there's not a camera on me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. The camera changes the whole dynamic. You're worried about things that you shouldn't be worrying about in a discussion. How you look, how people think you look, all of that stuff. And so to not have a camera on and to go back to the basics of audio and storytelling and theater of the mind, which is something that in radio we're taught from day one, I think when you go back to just you, your voice, and a microphone, it's a new world.
It really is. And you know, again, Blind Boy Boat Club, the whole reason I brought it up is because he wears a shopping bag over his head so he doesn't get anxiety. I know people are going to see what I look like, but I just know in that moment not being seen works for me and makes me more comfortable. I'm going to continue the What the Hell Everything with Smitty podcast, but it's going to be a little bit different. The way that I was doing it before, that I felt good about, and it just didn't seem like I was getting anybody, so maybe I was wrong, was... a bunch of news stories, doing a show. It was live on Patreon, and was mixing in reactions with that. And I'm like, you know what? This is just not working. I got to figure out a way for, like you said, to get back into the storytelling aspect, which I think is what I do. That's one of my strong suits, I think, is to tell stories when I can stay on topic. So I'm changing the way I do it. And essentially, I'm going to use it as a tool for my creative writing, because that's just one thing I've wanted to do forever. And I don't think I'm good at it, but I think I have things in my brain that are best suited for a written format, right? So there's going to be some podcasts. I don't know that I'm going to write all podcasts, but I'm going to focus on one idea for a podcast rather than a bunch of shit, to try to keep it as focused as possible. Some podcasts might be just me reading a story that I wrote, and I'm talking about, like, it could be a true story, it could be a fictional story, and I have several ideas that I've been writing and fucking with. But I feel like if you're genuine about it, people will hopefully gravitate towards it, and that's really all I can do. That's really all I can offer is, my best genuine self, to try to get that out without the filler of the uhs and the stuttering Smitties and the losing your moments and things like that. If I can do that, then I feel like the reception will be a little more, I don't know what the word, warm or engaging, or, the ultimate in this stuff is engagement. That's what drives these podcasts. That's what drives content, is engagement. And when I do a bunch of fucking content and nobody comments on one single thing, and it makes you wonder why you're fucking doing this.
Yeah.
And
that's one of the worst things to deal with is when you start to question why you're doing it. Well, you were doing it for yourself. That was the reason you started doing it. This was something that you wanted to do, that you were doing for yourself. But then when you're not getting the reaction that you were hoping for, then that questioning of doing it for yourself comes in, and it's like, why am I doing this? And you forget it's about you.
Yeah.
And it's about becoming better at whatever you wanted to become better at in the first place, which I think for you was always to talk to people in a genuine way versus that radio way that we tend to talk, where we get loud and we over enunciate and things like that. I think that's always been a thing for you, is to be more conversational. And I think this avenue allows you to just be more conversational with your audience.
Well, I've really realized, and this is going to sound stupid because we've had discussions on what is art and what is not. I'm not saying this fucking thing I made here with my face and the thing. I don't necessarily. All I know is that I have wanted to be creative since I was a kid, and for many, many reasons, I never was able to exercise that muscle, and I'm trying to do that now. I'm trying to entertain that side of my brain that I've never entertained before. I mean, I know on some level I'm an artist. And accepting that was really hard, because you want to talk about imposter syndrome. I already have it, but when you start, to me, that's the ultimate you can be as an artist, is to create something that you hope other people will relate to, whether it be music or paintings or whatever. And that's really all I want to do, is just, and we were talking about on radio and how I'm better off doing like more conversational things. All the shit I did on the radio, pretty much the shit I wanted to do was all projects. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, cool, it's doing a radio show, but like, we do the zombie prank, or we did the Metallicathon, or we did other things where you're messing around and creating a project and creating something that you think is cool.
Right. That
was always more important to me than like doing a radio show. Just creating things. So that's kind of the way the new podcast is going to go. I'm still going to have guests probably on the podcast, but it'll be in audio format. And, it's not going to be weekly. It's going to be mainly supplemental. And when I say supplemental to what? And that is the Smartman Show with Brian and Nate, which is you and me, pal.
Man, you made me look dapper.
You know? I saw that Mad Men photo, and I'm like, it'd be really fun to put our faces in there and just see what the fuck happens.
I totally should try to look like that. Wow.
The Smartman Show podcast with Brian and Nate. We're going to try to do it weekly. I'm not saying we're going to do it every week, but we're shooting for weekly. You know, life gets in the way sometimes. We have a couple episodes we'll get recorded here and drop those. I think, what did we say, October 28th, Monday? We're going to be dropping them Monday. And I'm so excited, dude. I mean, I really am. It wasn't one of those things where I was just like scraping, trying to find what am I going to do for this podcast thing. I've forever wanted like a true co-host for this thing, you know? And that's just one of those things where it's so hard to get people that you want to do a show with that can do it, that can, you know, do it consistently and have the same type of like, I don't know, like programming brain that we have, you know? Well, it's hard to find somebody to do it with consistently, and you want to be do a good show and have the same ideas about it, you know?
You have to be on the same page for the type of show you want to do, the delivery of the show that you want to do, but also you have to be different enough to be interesting. And I think that we're definitely different enough people with shared interests, shared, you know, stuff, but we are different people. I
thought about it, and I was just, you know, I'm goddamn, man, I wish I just had a co-host to do a show with. It would just, because I'm worried about fun and doing a good show. I'm more worried about my satisfaction with the show or the podcast or whatever you want to call it than how many fucking views I get, as crazy as it sounds. I want engagement and I want all that stuff, but I know if I go back and I listen to a show, because I can't go back and listen to some of those old podcasts, dude.
Pick it apart.
I can't. It's so awkward and brutal. But I know if I go back and listen to it and it's a good show, I'm more excited about that than views. But we're so different that I was just thinking about it, and I'm like, why have I never asked Cartman before to do a fucking podcast? We did a podcast, a Rock and Roll Roundtable, early rendition of that some years ago, and that was cool, but it still had to fit some way, shape, or form the radio because it was associated with a radio station. This is not, by the way, associated with a radio station one single bit. I feel like we should stress that.
Yeah, this is just a separate project that I'm going to be doing with Nate here, and like I'm excited for it because again, we are different people, and although we've always been friends, I don't know if our comfort level has ever been as good as it is right now. Probably the last year or so. I think there's been more of a comfort level in opening up and talking about stuff with each other, whereas even though we were friends, I just don't think it was there. I don't think it ever was. You know, it wasn't a top priority for me to like spill my guts on something to you if I was going through something.
I really remember the moment that sort of changed for you and I feel like.
I think I do too. Yeah.
I think I was having a real rough time, you know, with my own self-esteem, and it was right before I got fired. I don't know about right before. It was early 2015, I want to say.
Yeah.
And I still remember we had a holiday party for the company, and I was feeling pretty shitty about myself. I was broke, you know, working in radio. You're just not. We were supposed to go to this holiday party at Shush, and I was like, dude, I don't want to go, and I just am not feeling the party. But this conversation led to me really kind of laying bare. I think I sort of got emotional, and I was talking about just how shitty I feel and just how not good I am. The job in particular was what I was referring to. But then what made it even worse, it was salt on the wound. After I declined going to the party and I fucking laid myself out there for you about how shitty I was feeling about myself, and then I won a fucking award for like Programmer of the Year or some shit. You know what I mean? At this party that I missed.
And I was like,
I was like, dude. But it made me feel good, but it also made me feel like, they just like I had it in my head that they did that just because I wasn't there.
Wow.
You know what I mean? You want to talk about the brain and how it just manifests stupid fucking ideas.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's the little devil angel version of you sitting on your shoulder, only sometimes
Yeah.
the angel doesn't show up and there's just two devils poking at you.
That's exactly what it is. It's the inner monologue, and sometimes the inner monologue's awful. But you and I are so different. I really just feel like we can have great conversations and different ideas about things, and we're both, good. We have good fucking chemistry. We're good friends. I really love the idea of doing this stuff with you. So that's going to start again October 28th. And listen, I'm going to have this description plastered all over everything for probably a while. I feel terrible about spamming people, but I mean, it's just what you got to do. There are new links for the podcast. I had to change podcast providers. So I literally have to go through almost every video on my YouTube channel and change the links and change all that stuff. So I can hopefully get some fucking traction on these podcasts. But I'm going to work through it, dude. I am committed to doing this stuff. I love doing this stuff. And, I know that if I quit, I will fucking hate myself. And I don't want to hate myself. I want to love myself.
Well, coming into this with you, I'm thrilled to do this with you as a friend.
Thrilled?
I am, as a friend. And I'm mostly thrilled that you are doing the work side of it. All I have to do is show up and talk. So thank you for that.
Well, I was hoping you would edit audio at some point, but hey.
Oh. I don't think we talked about that before.
No,
why did you wait till now to bring that up?
I was going to talk about it, but you just brought it up.
Damn it.
You don't have to. But I mean, that's happening. So I'm trying to think of, is there anything else I want to get out for people? Like, do we want to talk about like what to expect from that show? We're going to be talking about pop culture. We have homework assignments to check out films and TV shows and things like that. You're
going to get authentic versions of us talking about everything.
I think so. There's a certain amount of real talk that you can't do on the radio, and I love the idea of just sitting in here or on Zoom or wherever we're doing it from, and just doing a good show and get to talk to my buddy, once a week or so.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be fun.
If you're still here, I thank you so much. Please look in the comment section for the links for the new link tree. The new podcast link will be there on Spotify. It's all new, and the YouTube channel will remain the same. And click the link for the other stuff too. The Learns Irish podcast, the pubcast. Are we going to put links for any of your socials on there at all?
Yeah, you can throw them up. I don't care. That'd be great.
Yeah,
You
put
follow
those
me
on
for
there.
the radio show too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might show up on your radio show every once in a while. I have showed up on your radio show every once in a while. Not very often. Just when I
Open
can
door
get up that early.
policy.
Just when I can get up that early.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got to get up real early to be on the show.
Yeah.
So just a heads up. But yeah, open door policy, man. I think this will be good. I think this is a situation that could bloom into something beautiful.
I hope so. Because I think you're beautiful. You're
Well,
a beautiful man.
You photoshopped me that way, so yeah.
Goddamn right I did. Hey, that's it. I really appreciate it. This is just a special video for patrons and members and all sorts of stuff. I'm just going to put it everywhere and get the word out. And, I hope you're enjoying the content. If you are, please comment and do something and follow the journey and do something. I could have said that way nicer. Anyway, I'm out of here. You're out of here.
I'm out of here too.
We're out of here.
See ya. Oh wait, I don't have to do that here.
Don't ever do that again in here.